And thank you for your patience. We were waiting for two things. One, a quorum, and secondly, to make sure that our TV producer there was happy. Welcome to the Conservation Commission for the Town of Milton, April 9th, 2019 meeting. The commission is appointed by the Board of Selectmen. No, the Select Board, sorry. Select Board.
Don't do that again.
All right. And our mandate is to enforce the rules and regulations of the State Wetlands Protection Act and the regulations of the Milton Town bylaw governing the wetlands. We have two matters of formality. The first one is that this is an open meeting and we're recording everything, so we invite everyone to speak, ask a question, make a comment, but please, to do so, come forward and use a microphone and introduce yourself. The second matter of formality is that we always introduce ourselves.
Judith Darrell Kemp.
And my name's John Kiernan.
Hans Van Lingen.
Wendy Garpo.
And Steve Ibis, Conservation Agent.
And we're ready to go. First on the agenda is notice of intent, 1040 Hillside Street.
Yes.
Please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Commission. My name is Scott Salvucci with Woodard & Karn. So tonight we have in front of you a relatively straightforward project. It's a project for the Milton DPW. It's a reconfiguration and upgrades to an existing pump station on Hillside Street. Really, it's just going to be, and do you guys have plans?
Yes, we do.
On the screen,
great.
which just went dark for some reason.
Gotta love technology.
What is a pump station? Why don't you explain that?
So it's a sewer pump station to help with changes of gravity with the way the sewage flows to help change in elevations throughout the system. So most of the pipes flow through gravity. If it reaches a point in town where it's either too high or too low, there's a pump station to either pump it up to a certain elevation to then let it flow along gravity, or through a force main until it reaches gravity, until its final destination of the sewage treatment.
Isn't the MWRA in charge of sewage and oversight authority?
Yes. Yes. So some of the infrastructure is on town property, maintained by the town, to get it to the MWRA processing facilities. So this is one of the stations. This is the sewer pump station. Right now there's existing infrastructure that comes to the site. It's an existing site with a few different pipes that come into a wet well, basically a big manhole, where they all converge. The sewage is then pumped back into another main line.
And the town is in charge of all of this. We're responsible for it?
Yes, this specific pump station, yes.
All right, we still don't have it. Still in the process? Okay, thanks.
Quick plan here I can lay out for you. We have it in front of you. So really it's an existing site. Really there's going to be a change in a little bit of the driveway configuration to make it more of a safety accessible turnaround for maintenance operations. Relocation of the wet well slightly on site, and a new generator.
Can you orient us and orient the public as to where this is?
So this is Hillside Street here, to the north side of the site.
And where's Houghton's Pond from that site? Everyone
Yeah,
knows
get
Houghton's Pond.
oriented, the State Police Barracks, Houghton's Pond.
Houghton's Pond is on this plan. You see the blue line?
Yes.
Houghton's Pond is in that direction.
Okay. So it's the same side of the street as Houghton's Pond is on.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And it's just down from Caris Brook. Right.
Okay.
Just south of Caris Brook.
So the blue line you have is the wetlands
The wetland line
delineation.
that was delineated by Mr. Eisner.
And it's the same line that you approved many years ago. You've been
Been there
there.
many times.
Exactly.
Do you know when? Do you know when it was last
when it was last approved, you did some work. Do you remember?
I don't recall.
The town did some work. 600?
I'm just guessing it's not 3.
It's not 3.
Okay.
It's not 3, that's
All right.
correct. It's more than 3.
All right, and basically, it wouldn't make a difference to us anyway. I understand that, but I'm just concerned with approving a line we haven't seen. And it may have no impact at all. Who's on the other side? What's the nearest abutter, do you know?
It's DCR
Yes.
property, really.
So it's
all
DCR on
around.
both sides,
Yeah.
all around it?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And it's adjacent to the stream that comes down across Hillside Street.
Yes.
Right, the stream is to the immediate southwest, I would say, of the site. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the north marker here in the lower right-hand corner. It's not up there. All right, so what are you doing to, I understand what you described, but in terms of a heavy equipment, what's going to happen
There'll be
on the site?
Yeah, there'll be excavation of a new wet well with shoring and bracing, stockpile areas. A limit of work will be set up along the existing footprint of the site, so there won't be any new disturbance, staying strictly within the limits of the existing site. Changing the location of the wet well slightly to provide a newer wet well with new equipment. Changing the footprint of the turnaround again for a safe turnaround, safe passage for maintenance, and a new generator. So it's typical construction in a sense. It'll have construction fence, silt fence, excavation, stockpiling.
And do you have the limit of work marked here?
Yeah, so that's highlighted in yellow on the sheet in front of you.
So the existing generator, how is that fueled by gas?
It says electric service cabinet. I believe it is. I believe it's a diesel.
Diesel?
Yeah,
And the replacement is also going to be diesel?
I believe so.
Okay. And is that a single unit, or is the tank separate from that?
No, I think it's a single unit. It's all within
It's a
that same
single skid?
cabinet. Yeah.
Okay.
What's the interior on that horseshoe? What's the interior dotted line? Because I see the limit of work as being the outside line.
That would be, so the interior dotted line. Let's see.
Because the yellow indicates it follows the dotted line.
Yeah, so there's the
but
limit of work line, then there's a silt fence with hay bale line.
And
I believe-
that's the dotted line.
And I
No,
believe
that's the one outside of the dotted line.
Right, so I believe that's just a little bit of an offset to show the thickness of what the hay bales will be.
Okay,
So the silt fence and then the line weight in the sense of the
got it.
hay bales.
And what about equipment? Where's the storage for the equipment during the construction phase?
On the hillside street shoulder there. The-
You'll have to
So,
help me with that.
yeah,
You're just
so
saying
along-
that generically, or are you pointing to something on the map?
So the areas right along Hillside Street, the furthest away from the stream, furthest away from the wetlands.
Can you get out, we've got the map delineating the line. Can you get 100 feet away from that?
Would you be able to store things outside the buffer?
I don't believe so. No.
No.
Because it's all, by the time you reach Hillside Street, you're only about 30 feet away from Hillside Street here, maybe 60 feet from Hillside Street here. So the storage will all happen on the shoulder of Hillside Street.
What storage? Are you talking about soils?
Equipment that you were mentioning.
All right, so I mean, we have a standard provision that you can't store overnight and you can't refuel equipment. We don't want hydraulic
Yeah.
equipment that close to the wetlands. Can you get it into the parking lot at Houghton's Pond? Could you store it there?
There's also a parking area right across Hillside Street and to the north and
To the north?
west, north of the site. There's a small parking lot for trails. you may be able to use that on a part-time basis if you get DCR approval.
We're trying to get this equipment away. You're awfully close to
Yeah.
the wetland line there, and those hoses pop all the time.
Yeah.
There's a couple of parking lots, one by the ball fields at Milton's Pond,
That's right.
and one's by Houghton's Pond on Hillside Street.
I think that's something that could be worked out with the contractor. Yeah, that you can condition that they can't store equipment overnight
Right.
in the parcel.
All right.
Yeah.
So one of the conditions of our approval would be that you make sure you control the contractor, because we've had some difficulties with the contractors in the past.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, we're not the applicant, so it doesn't count, but it does.
It does. It certainly does. Yeah.
And so we'd want to just get some kind of notification prior to the execution of the work where that location will be, or where the contractors agreed to
Yeah.
put that.
Yeah, and certainly then it's pointed out at a pre-construction site walk.
Sure.
Okay. Absolutely.
Oh, can you put that as one of the contingencies?
Yes.
Okay. Any other, I mean, obviously, it's a good project. Anything that helps the sewage system helps us. Any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I just want to say as well that Steve Ivers wrote an extremely thorough report about the area in the wetland. And Steve, I want to commend you. It's an excellent report, 8 or 9 pages, and he covered both the hydraulic soils that are in the area as well as plant life, and it was quite informative. So I'm confident that those wetland, that are probably correct as we're looking at them on the map.
I agree.
Okay, so are you comfortable as well not looking at the line? I am. I mean, if there was a house situated next door, then...
If there was a
then it
change in
wouldn't be-
footprint, possibly, but there's no change in
Okay.
the footprint of the work. So.
All right. Wendy, any other questions or comments?
I'm good. Thank you.
Are there abutters or members of the public that have a question or would like to make a comment? Hearing none, are there any, can you just kind of recite for us, we've got the storage out of the buffer zone?
Yes, storing equipment out of the buffer zone, notification prior to any work
Right.
that they've got a location for the equipment, and a pre-conviction of a pre-construction site walk, preconditions there.
All right, perfect. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve it as stated?
Move.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is number 2, notice of intent 25 Wharf Street, Town of Milton.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Bill Clark, Director of Planning for the Town of Milton. With me tonight is Andrew Nilsson. Andrew is an engineer with Childs Engineering. He's been hired by the town to permit the town's pier down at Town Landing, which you have before you is the notice of intent, and Andrew knows all the particulars and we'll walk you through it.
All right. So the floating dock is something that's been actually installed on site since 1993. However, due to administrative error back in roughly 1993, we have to seek a new Chapter 91 license for the structure. And to get the Chapter 91 license, we also need an order of condition, which is why we're before you tonight. So the floating dock, as I said, has been installed since 1993. It's primarily used for recreational boats around the Pond River. It's also used by some educational rowing communities that use the site. Adjacent to it is also a I guess what you'd call a boat ramp, although it's a little bit more of a marine railway. It's not a recreational boat ramp per se. Not something that's accessible to all, I guess, trucks and trailers. That's also included under that original Chapter 91. So we've got some blown up drawings, the same drawings that are provided to you in the application of the floating dock. The layout you see there is, I guess it's changed a little bit here and there over the years, but the overall square footages remain the same. Square footage of the floating dock's about 1,400 square feet, 1,440 actually, square feet. We conducted a hydrographic survey about 10 months ago of the site, and there's, since the original Chapter 91 application in the 90s, there's been some filling in of the area. You can see
Take this with you.
You can see where the low water line is. It's actually outshore, this being the shore, this is the floating dock. It's actually outshore of the floating dock, whereas the original application had it shown just inshore of the floating dock. So there's been some significant filling in of that area since that application was submitted.
Filling, are you saying because of tidal movement or filling from purposeful?
No, natural occurrence.
Okay.
One
Could I
thing that,
just- I'm sorry, Bill, just quickly, do you know, I thought we would pick up the 1993 plan, order of conditions here. It says 45. This is the official file here. It says 25 Wall Street, but I don't see the 1993.
Is it in the back, all the way back? The 93?
plan.
Is there another
Plan is,
plan?
but I don't think there was a notice of intent. The other part to this is,
I
there was a...
don't remember it, but
I don't either.
I could have forgotten.
There was there has been a pier, there's been a dock on this pier for over 100 years. So when the ACEC became an issue, DEP went in and said everybody with a dock had to register their dock. The town went, registered their dock. We went through the whole process, signed by the governor, signed by DEP, signed by Chapter 91, and it got sent back to the town, and the town did not record it at the registry.
Okay,
Therefore, the whole thing becomes moot. We have to start from the beginning. Here we are.
all right, I get it.
That's back when the town didn't do things correctly. Now we do everything just right. Right, Bill?
I try.
Oh, I,
That's for the Chapter 91 permit.
that's it, but this is the state. What I was looking for was to see if there was an order of conditions from us.
Didn't find one.
Okay, all
So
right.
the big question is, are there any changes
Yeah.
to the plan from what was originally, or are you making any changes? Are you changing anything in terms of the design? Is it the same? Nothing's changing.
There is no, the dock has grown a little bit in that there's a little dock on the side that is there for dinghies.
Anything
It
that would
wasn't
affect
there
the
originally.
license?
We put it on this plan.
Could you point that out, the one on the side? I thought it was exactly the same, yeah.
This thing grew by one, and this thing, I think this is the one that wasn't there before.
Okay.
So it's more, the other part is, some of this has been done because there are more dinghies down in this area. The other part is because there are more shells. So as we start to do this, our plan, we have a long-term plan. Right now, we have to go back and take care of the first one first. Then we have to come back to dredging, then we're coming back to try to change this, make it a little wider, so we get shells on one side, boats on the other side, so we get more people to use the waterfront. But first steps first, we need to fix the license that,
So this just corrects the existing license?
thank you.
That's nothing else?
Correct.
So you're going to be going back, and are you going to be amending the Chapter 91 license to change the structure later, or is that
The floating dock structure is going to remain the same.
same?
Yep.
Okay.
For the time being, yes, but we're going to do dredging next.
Which will fall under a separate application
I need this to get to
to get to that.
that.
Okay.
But is that which is to come, does that include the, I don't know what to call it, longitudinal dock, floating dock, the one that it runs parallel to the wall? 'Cause I thought I saw plans within the last year to put in, for the benefit of the shells, to put in a long floating dock
No,
that did not extend
that's-
into the river.
No, the Master Plan Implementation Committee has been working down in that area, trying to come up with different schematics of what could happen. Crew came in with one, the yacht club came in with one, Master Plan through its, working with the regional planning agency, came in with a couple of different ones. We've been working with Childs, we came back and we know that before we do that, we need water to put the dock in. So let's fix the water, then we'll come back and talk about where the docks are going.
Okay. But I wasn't dreaming, I did see a plan.
You did.
Thank
Did, but we did not bring that for permitting at this time.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, any other questions? I mean, this sounds like just an administrative issue that it should have been recorded some years ago and it wasn't, so
1993.
we're back to square one,
Yep.
which is fine. We can take care of that. Are there any other questions?
I'm just checking the conditions from the original license to see if there's anything in there. It doesn't look like there's anything really significant. Repair.
I looked at it, hence,
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
good.
seen either, so.
yeah, I didn't see anything
Okay.
that jumped out at me at all. Pretty standard stuff.
All right. Wendy, any thoughts or questions?
Yes, I'm curious, Mr. Clark, how long are the Chapter 91 licenses usually valid for?
They're, more current ones, they typically give you 30 years
Okay.
before you have to go and renew it. There's other ones that are good indefinitely, but something like this would be a 30-year one.
This would have been indefinite, but, oops.
So now.
I'm glad it's
it'll-
fixable.
There'll be a limit on it?
We expect the DEP will most likely put a limit on it.
Okay. All right, understood. Anything else? Are there questions from abutters or citizens that would like to ask a question or make a comment? Hearing, did you have anything? Okay. So you are looking for a order of conditions to allow this to go forward?
Yes.
So there is no actual construction at this stage, correct?
It's already done.
So there's none, there are no
So it's sort of,
conditions?
think of it as a after-the-fact notice of intent.
The pro-tunc. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the order of conditions? Seconded?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Did you say aye?
Sorry.
I did.
Yes.
Okay, you said aye.
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you, unanimous. Thank you very much, you're all set.
Thanks, Pete.
Next on the agenda is number 375 Edge Hill Road, Cunningham Foundation.
Where's that one?
You all set?
Set.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ned Corcoran. I'm actually here as a member of the board of the Cunningham Foundation, and I'm here with Scott Murphy, who is the project engineer, and Joanne Hiramura, who is the park planner designer. This is a project to redevelop and expand a tot lot play area for small kids at the Cunningham property. We are within the setback of the buffer from wetland, and so we've got to be here for an order of conditions, and I'm going to hand it over to Scott and Joanne to handle most of the heavy lift of this.
Good evening, my name's Scott Murphy, I work with Hayner Swanson. We're in a civil engineering firm in Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as Burlington, Mass. So, as Ned said, yeah, we're updating the play area as well as doing some drainage improvements to the park. There's an existing erosion issue that's occurring just on the, well, let's get you positioned on the site first. We are located north of the ball field and the walkway in front of the pool, north of the pool and walkway.
The pond.
Sorry, pond. That's right. As well as the skate pond that was flagged as wetland this past December. And just below the slope at the baseball field and tennis courts. So that's the general area. What's occurring now is that the stormwater runoff from the parking lots, the baseball fields, the tennis courts is coming over that slope and doing erosion.
Scott, would you
Yep.
point that out? It might be helpful.
There's a lot of erosion going on this slope here. This is the baseball field, tennis courts. The drainage area goes all the way from the softball field all the way out to here. So during high-intensity storms, there can be some runoff and erosion that can come through here. And I'm told that oftentimes water will, and erosion will run off into the pond and shut the pool activity, pond activities down. So we're proposing to do I've provided, these photos are in the NOI as well. This shows the erosion. This is right at the baseball field, outfield corner. As we're proposing to install a cutoff swale at the top of that slope, capture it, put in some catch basins into an infiltration trench, and then bringing it to the toe of the slope and discharging it into a little wrap area and where it's flatter.
Can you describe what you mean by an infiltration trench?
It's about 100 feet of perforated PVC HDPE pipe wrapped in, installed in stone and wrapped in filter fabric, so the water comes in there, built up in the stone, and then.
But what's on the surface? This is for the public's benefit because you've got kids running around here? And
This
if
is
they
at the-
trench, they'll think they're going to fall in the trench.
No, there's no trench there. There's a little swale up there, and that's about it. It's all, the trench will be buried underground. You won't see any stone on the surface, except for at the outlet at the toe of the slope.
Oh, I understand. But I appreciate that because, somebody might be listening that would need that explanation.
Yep. And so, yeah, the play area, Joanne will address that, but I've highlighted in pink here what we're proposing for a sediment barrier to keep runoff away from the pool or the pond and the wetland over there. Highlighted in yellow is the riverfront area, the 200-foot riverfront boundary or area.
100 and then 200.
So there is a disturbance in here of about just under 2,000 square feet. There is an error in the NOI application, or page 2, I do believe, where our wetland consultant inadvertently put the permanent area square footage of impact, which is just a little bit of landscape area that's going to be permanently planted. He inadvertently left out the temporary impact where it can be access in the area with equipment and stuff during construction. So that's this additional area through here.
All right, and apropos of that comment about equipment and storage, and you heard our last
Yep.
applicant, the town of Milton. Where do you plan to have equipment stored?
We will not store it inside the buffer area.
Be up in the parking lot.
They will be up in the parking lot. They'll follow the walkway, and they can store everything right up in the parking lot, and
Okay.
they can do a secure area there, and
And grade changes,
pretty much matching everything that's there.
okay.
I believe Joanne can address the play area, but I believe the play area will be raised up a little bit and flattened out, but for the most part, there's not much change.
So running the swale into the infiltration pipe with the riprap down the end, aren't you basically just shifting the problem further down? Because you're not doing anything to attenuate, to adjust the volume, you're still controlling it all into a
The
single
infiltration
spot.
area, the infiltration area or the trench is attenuating the smaller storms, or basically infiltrating the smaller storms.
But you said the issue is the larger storms.
The high-intensity storms.
Yes, sorry, high intensity.
No, it's not going to solve the issue with the
The higher intensity.
25-year storm, or
So there's no retention, there's no...
there's no retention. We're just eliminating the erosion on the bank and diverting it away from pond.
What's
swimming
the
pond.
anticipated depth of the swale? Is
The
that in there?
depth, I think there's a profile. I think it's 6 feet.
There's a lot of rock around there, isn't there?
It's all stone. It's really nice stuff. You dig it. We did 2 test pits. It's
Isn't there a
really
rock
clean
ledge
stone.
outcrop that goes
There's
along
ledge
there?
outcrop over here.
Okay, you're away from
We
that.
went down about
Okay.
8-9 feet here, and there was no ledge.
Okay. In terms of the play area, is that going to have its own drainage, or is that, sorry, I didn't mean to...
Okay. Hi, so I'm Joanne Hiromura. I'm a landscape architect with Studio MLA. Okay. So this is a plan of just the play area on the lower part of the slope. So the swale is further up towards the top of the slope. We will have a swale at the bottom of the slope with perforated PVC pipe that will lead the water away from the pond and out towards where the rest of the discharge is heading towards the skating pond. So basically what we're proposing is a nature-based play garden. So it's really for the younger children. And the idea is to replace the existing old kind of equipment with play items that are more nature-based, trying to instill in little kids the enjoyment of playing in nature. In the sand area, we have a hut made of live willows. There's a low slide on a turf hill, a little playhouse, a little rope net. There's a seating area with a pergola for families and parents and caregivers. All of the surfaces will be permeable, so the walking surfaces, and there will be an accessible ramp up to the top of the slope, will be stabilized stone dust. The play areas that have little play equipment like that existing, it's going to, spider, if you've been to the play area, we're refurbishing that so it meets code. Those areas would be a safety surface, which is a wood fiber mulch, which is basically shredded hardwood strands. And lawn areas, and then we're going to plant the whole area with native species, birch trees, amelanchier. The area will have a low fence, and on the outer edge of the fence, there'll be inkberry and other perennials. And we think that will also mitigate the runoff issue.
How about the trees
Birches and amelanchier.
coming in, but are you removing any trees?
No, we're saving all the trees. Yep.
Well, I love this project. When I looked at it, I thought, this is just what we need at Cunningham Park. It's great, and it's so cutting edge. It's just what we want to do for the little kids, is integrate, natural setting, like what we're doing now at the schools with our outdoor classrooms and everything. Wendy, you know that so well. And I love your planting. I love the species that you're doing, the emelach. People love that, the shadblow, as people call it. What is the surface that the kids are going to be on? That's what I wasn't sure of. What is it? What is that material? Is it consistent and it's?
No, there's different materials. So there is a sand play area, so that's this yellow area, so that's clean filtered sand. Where there is pieces that are more like play equipment, like a little slope net, a little that looks like a spider web. There's a wood fiber mulch. It's shredded hardwood strands. It looks a lot like, hemlock mulch, I guess, but it's certified to be a playground safety surfacing, so that it's tested. So if children fall on it, it's considered safe.
Is it stable though? Will it stay in that area?
Is it stable? Well, we have regraded this whole area, so it is ADA compliant. So it's generally just 2% at the bottom where the majority of the play space is. We are going up the slope to create an embankment slide. So utilizing that existing slope there at the park, we're going to have a slide that is pretty much on the ground, but it follows the slope. So the play areas are either wood fiber, sand. There's some lawn. The paths are all stabilized stone dust, and the rest is planted.
Can I ask you a question about one of your L1.0? I'm just asking about the designation of the riverfront boundary and the 100-foot wetland buffer. And they don't seem to be consistent.
Okay.
They're the same as what I was showing on this plan here. The larger scale. The riverfront boundary is this line here. It's not highlighted on this plan, and that's associated with the stream that goes through the park there. So there's 200-foot offset from that.
Well, see, these are then backwards, because I've got I guess I've got two issues. I'm trying to, on this map here, I'm trying to locate.
Oh, he's right.
That's correct.
He's right.
That's the riverfront
He's
boundary,
correct.
and then
So the
that's the
river
one.
is-
The river's over here.
then
Yeah, the stream runs back.
Where's the wetlands measured from?
That wetland buffer is from
Edge of the skate pond.
the edge of the skate pond, which is probably just off the plan right here.
Actually, the edge of the skate plan is on this plan here, L10.
Yeah.
It's right there, there's a little corner there, right at the riverfront boundary, at the Y of the riverfront boundary. That's where the edge of the skate pond is.
Oh, okay.
It appears to be.
L10 is what I've got.
Right. Look at the Y and riverfront boundary. That's where the edge of the 100-foot buffer goes. And if you go back from there, you've got 100 feet back.
You see my issues. I was just measuring the difference between 100 feet and 200 feet, and it's changing.
This, if we go to
So you're going 200 feet from a different
Yeah,
spot.
it's a different
So
reference.
you're on both sides, okay.
Right. See, this is the, that one, the 100-foot buffer line is from this line here.
That BBW.
That Board of, thing.
Okay.
That BBW, and then the 200 feet is from this line
The
here.
channel.
So,
Okay.
all right, so that wetland line is probably closer out here, something like that. So that's 100. That has nothing to do, these two aren't related
They're
at
not
all.
related at all?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Except that they border on each other.
All right, any questions, Linda?
No? Thank you.
Just to quickly clarify, you said that are you changing the grade within the actual play area? Because I believe the play area is on a bit of a slope, right? So you're gonna have
So
to,
we are
dig out-
regrading a bit, yeah,
Okay.
to make the bottom of the slope less
have you
steep.
done a cut fill analysis, or is it balanced, is it?
We have not, I'm guessing it's probably pretty close, there probably will have to be maybe a little bit fill in, but it's mostly probably the surface material. One thing, she referenced, they're meeting the grade at the path. This is the path just above the swim pond. They're meeting that grade there, but they're gonna put a little depressed swale there to divert any runoff from their play area down. They're gonna be put a sleeve, 2 sleeves underneath this entrance gate and divert it off that way. It shouldn't, volume of water shouldn't be that much because it's only here because we've already cut off the stormwater from the top of the slope, so.
And I see on Plan 2 of 4, you've got a slight bit of grading to the north of the play area, basically at the northeast corner of the play area. There's a slight bit of grading. Plan 2 out of 4, if you wanted to take a look on the detail. Seems to match.
This area
It matches
here?
down. That's exact, well, right, just above, it, right there.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
is-
slight bit of grading.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fill coming in here.
Exactly. Yep.
It's gonna be a 4-to-1 slope. It's maybe a 5-to-1, 5 to 6-to-1 slope now. The reason we have to steepen that up is because we're creating this swale here to catch it and divert it into these catch basins.
Right. Makes sense.
And after the catch basin, where does it go?
It's gonna, this swale discharges into a catch basin here. Then there's another catch basin here. This will be like a beehive type structure, so we'll try and get, it'll be depressed in like a 1-foot area, trying to catch the water. There's a swale out here in the outfield where a lot of that water is coming
And
from.
then where
This
does-
is where the bad erosion was occurring.
But where does the water then go?
Goes into this structure, into that manhole, and then out, discharges into a flared end, out of the flared end section into a little riprap area.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. So it's like a level spreader.
Yeah, it's a small one, a level spreader, kind of like a plunge pool to dissipate the energy and just let it sheet, because this is fairly flat
Got it.
over there.
Have you done any rough calculations on sizing?
Yes, we have no discharge in the 2-year storm, a little bit in the 10-year storm. Right now, it's not dissipating much in the 10-year storm, but it is infiltrating. So it's somewhere between a 10 and a 2-year storm. I'm thinking like maybe a 5-year storm is definitely being captured and no outlet. But
So when the flow did shut down the swimming pond, what was the reason, or was it because of just the influx of water, or was there a bacterial issue, or what was the actual?
Debris.
So it's debris flowing into the,
Yes.
yeah.
okay,
Debris.
okay. And you think
So we closed
that,
it down so we could clean it up.
Sure.
So,
and so you think that problem will be fixed by this design? You're
yes.
confident in that?
Yeah. We use sandbags now.
So what happens if there's a 25-year storm, and at the end there, where I refer to it as a level spreader, does that essentially go into the skating area?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Yep,
which
it'll
is
sheet flow
relatively
into
flat.
there, yep.
Okay. Understood. Any other questions? Abutters, members of the public, questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the order of conditions? And what we talked about we've got storage in the parking lot outside of the buffer zone, which would be our usual protocol.
Right.
Anything in addition to that? I think we're good, yeah?
Yeah,
What's
we're
the
good.
construction phasing? What do you anticipate for time?
This spring, early summer.
But, yeah, over a period of what, a week, 2 weeks, a month?
A couple months,
Couple of months?
2 to 3 months.
Okay.
We're working with contractors now to secure bids, and we're hoping to be ready to go within the next couple of weeks and done before the start of the summer school vacation.
All right.
Good.
And just, in terms of a concern during the construction, that's, I call it the lower end, where the erosion controls are, is going to be very important, because right on the other side of that is the swimming pond.
Yep.
So that's something that needs to be
So
secured.
how about a pre-construction meeting
Yeah.
reviewing
right.
erosion controls?
Right, if you could do that, Steve, because that's pretty
Good
important to
idea.
us and to the
Yeah.
pool and to the Cunningham
Do
Foundation.
you want the erosion control installed before that meeting?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Sounds good. Okay, so with those conditions, is there a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Good to go, thank you all.
Very much.
We look forward to it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
It's great to see.
Number 4 on the agenda is 7 Wagon Wheel Drive.
Question that says, do the stormwater standards apply? And there's three examples where they don't, where it's exempt. They checked that it didn't apply, but they didn't check that it didn't apply, because they couldn't actually fall under any of those exemptions. So they should have had to follow certain requirements.
Hi, Brad, how you doing?
None of those apply.
Good evening, welcome. Could you introduce yourselves and give us your plan?
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes, an environmental consultant and restoration. Along with me this evening is Nancy Latanzio with the Latanzio Landscape Designs, and the property owner Patrick Sweeney for his property at 7 Wagon Wheel Drive.
Welcome.
We submitted a notice of intent for landscape improvement work at the property. What we have here is a surveyed site plan. I'll go over the site, and then we can get into the landscape improvements that we're proposing.
That's the same one that's up there, by the way.
Oh,
Brad.
even better.
Just-
Would you want me
just
to point to this, or we can?
If you wish, up there is fine.
Sure. That helps the public probably see it.
Sure. Property is accessed from Wagon Wheel Drive. It's a paved driveway, the residence, the yard. The yard extends to the northwest. Also, the site borders Deerfield Drive to the south. There's a bordering vegetated wetland just along the on and off the property line. At the northern portion of the property that's associated with it, there is a drainage easement, there's some flow, so it is a bordering vegetated wetland that I've delineated and shown here. The site contains lawn just up to about the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland. It's been maintained lawn and landscaped area. The 25-foot buffer zone is shown here, and the 100-foot buffer zone is shown here. What we're proposing to do is work within the buffer zone with landscape improvements, and go over the landscape plan.
The landscape.
Oh, sure, of course, I think I have that. Let's see where I'm going here. This is what I want, yep. It's landscape plan is proposed conditions, thank you. Yep, there we go.
Okay, see? Sure. What we're looking to do is generally
Hey, Brad?
Yes. Take that mic out. Muted. Sorry. Oh. Thank you. What we're looking to do is landscape work, as I discussed. This blue line is the edge of the existing lawn that is there now, circles around.
Brad, she may wish to note that this plan is exactly the opposite orientation as the last plan.
Correct.
Show north.
Sure. What
All right,
this is?
thank you.
This is north, this direction. What we've done is we've concentrated the design within the buffer zone, so you can see what the work is within, the 100-foot buffer zone. So that's the portion of the site that extends lawn and landscape right down to the wetland line. What we're looking to, so on this landscape design plan that Nancy can help clarify, but I'll just go over the main points, and then if you have any more detail, we can turn it over to Nancy. This blue line is the limit of lawn that sits there today. What we're looking to do is several activities, and I've listed them in the notice of intent application. The first step is the installation of an erosion control line. Prior to any work, we're looking to install an erosion control line just along the limit of work here, so that it would protect any activities, so that we contain any sediment from entering the wetland system.
Where's the 25-foot?
This is the 25-foot here.
Okay.
This dash line is the wetland line. There's an area, one of the activities we're proposing right here in this region of the site, there's an area, a small stand of Japanese knotweed, looking to remove that knotweed. We've listed in the notice of intent that coordination would be done with the conservation agent prior to the start of work. It would either be excavated or it would be treated with herbicide. Treated with herbicide after the flowering period at the end of the summer. Once it's dead, it would be cut and removed. The next activity that we're proposing is the planting of native vegetation. We know within the buffer zone that the commission looks to improve conditions, and the property owner is looking to do that as well. And we're looking to interplant the area with a number of different native plantings, sapling, shrubs, and ground covers, and I'll go over that further with you and let Nancy describe that. And they're interplanted throughout the site. You'll see them here. You see them. There's some other activities of plantings throughout the site, and it's basically to enhance the site.
You're pointing to things that I don't see.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to that plan because I can't.
Okay.
It's a little bit difficult on this plan because it's all listed on that table. Okay. So I'm just going to hit the points, and then we can get into the nitty-gritty here. The other activity that we're looking to do is lawn restoration. We're actually going to remove lawn so that there's a reduction in the amount of lawn area that's in the proposed condition. As I stated, this blue line is the existing lawn. This green line would be the proposed lawn. So there's actually an improvement of the reduction of lawn. What we were proposing to do is
the green line?
This green shaded area
okay.
is the proposed lawn area. This blue line here is everything beyond that blue line is currently lawn as it sits today. So there'd be a reduction in the amount of lawn area. We are looking to restore the lawn. There are dips and low spots, as any lawn would have. That I know the lawn is just remove the weedy lawn species, smooth it. We're not grading. It's not a grading event. It's just smoothing it out and then reseeding it. And what we're going to use is a lawn seed with tall fescues so that it requires less irrigation and less fertilization needs. And the remaining activity that we're proposing to do is there's 4 trees within the buffer zone that we're looking to remove. They're shown on the survey plan in detail, and I know they're here as well. There's 2 that are poor and diseased, and there's 2 landscape, but generally they were landscape fir trees that were planted at the original development of the site. We're looking to remove those 4 trees, but the overall landscape plan overcompensates for those trees. So those are the activities being the installation of the erosion controls, the lawn restoration, planting of native species, and one other item that I didn't hit was that there are some landscape walls proposed at the front of the property facing Wagon Wheel, which is right here, and you see it on the left-hand side in that purple color. 3 smaller tiered landscape walls just to provide some accent and improve the aesthetics to the site facing Wagon Wheel. The landscape plan here has the list of native trees, saplings, and also the perennial mix, and again, to be interplanted throughout the site. We also did include, with the notice of intent, I think it was an 11 by 17 at the end that shows you some views across the area, looking through the lawn area, and also ideas of what we're proposing to plant that would, the species that are used in the landscape design plan. Nancy, I'll turn it over to you to provide some more detail on the landscape design.
Hello. Yes, is this on? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Right, so the purpose of this lawn is to serve as a play lawn. It's a very nice area. It's the only area on the property that's suitable for a play lawn. The other part of the lot, which is out of the buffer zone, is wooded and ledgy. We want to, as Brad said, along the street side, we're proposing a planting of 5 Cercis canadensis behind those 3 walls. And there's also going to be a number of shrubs planted along that same front area, some red twig dogwood. And over toward the edge of the BVW there on the very far north border. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Sure. We also have a proposed shrub planting there. It's inkberry and red twig dogwood. There's a drop there. Yes. There's a big drop between the level of the lawn and the water below. And so that's partly why we have that planting there, to serve as a buffer so nobody falls overboard. We also, on the west property line, we're proposing, it's a little bit confusing looking in that drawing. I think some of the existing trees are still showing. We're proposing planting of 5 green giants along the property line there to screen a gap that opens them up to the neighbor on the other side. So there's 5 evergreens going in, 5 deciduous trees. I think I had about 40 shrubs and 125 native perennials also going in, chosen from the list on the plan.
I missed you, Nancy. On the right-hand side,
Yeah.
those trees exist, or they're to be planted?
The spiky-looking symbols toward the dark green at the bottom, those are existing pines. And then the lighter green colored ones would be the new green giants coming in.
What's a green giant?
It's a Thuya plicata. It's a type of arborvitae, fast-growing, good screening tree.
So what's your net in terms of trees, plants coming out?
4 trees
within the
coming
buffer?
out,
4 coming out?
10 going in,
Okay.
and just some maintenance pruning on some of the other trees.
Mr. Wallace, how long have you been in the house?
I'm actually Mr. Sweeney. I'm the second owner.
You're the second owner, so I'm
Yep.
seeing Wallace on this. Okay. How long
Been there
have you
since
there, Mr.
November after
Sweeney?
20 years in Boston.
Oh, okay. So you're doing this all over for?
Yeah, when we bought the property, it had been abandoned for about a year. The
Okay.
previous owner had passed away. We have a 6-year-old son who really wants a play area. So we looked into doing landscaping and realized there was a wetland area at the end, and really wanted to kind of make sure that we're doing things appropriately. And make sure our son is safe so he doesn't fall into the little swamp.
We had taken a look, this is just a Google Earth, a map of the property. Now, that's probably 5 years ago, the way that Google Earth does things.
yeah.
But we sort of struck by how many trees were on the property. And then the picture that we had from Nancy, it looks so barren. So obviously, a lot of trees have been taken down in the last maybe 5 years or so.
1, 2, 3, it looks like 4 of those evergreens. Yeah, it looks like there were more of those firs
In
before.
the front as well, near the
Yeah,
house, so
yeah.
I appreciate you putting the trees back in.
Absolutely.
Do we want to see this site?
Yes.
I think so.
I have two quick questions. The first one is up, it's gone. Could you put that back on, Steve?
Sure, the proposed conditions?
Yes.
Sure.
Is, you know, we've got a couple of performance standards to address. One of them is a 25-foot non-disturbance. So would it make a difference to you aesthetically if you took that lawn back to the 25-foot mark? And then the second question is, you know, we have a performance standards of 3-to-1. Can you put 12 trees in instead of 10? Two easy questions.
Oh, sure. Within the 100-foot zone, because I'm actually putting another, there's already an 11th tree right near the lower corner of the garage, an American dogwood going in there. It's not in the buffer zone, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's okay, you can count it.
Okay, we can count that, and sure, we can put in another tree.
Okay, that matches our performance standard,
Sure.
makes it a lot easier for us. What about taking the lawn back to the 25-foot? It's not to suggest that it's gonna be, you know, barren or rocky. You could put a, you know, wildflower seed, wetlands mix in there or something, other than, you know, the manicured lawn.
Just right in here.
Yes, that section right there. I mean, you could put a nice
Just extend it back a little bit.
wildflower seed mix.
One aspect is that, as you can see, there's a good difference from the existing lawn area versus the proposed. They are taking out quite a bit of lawn that's already grandfathered in, I guess you could say. So they could have,
Grandfather
think
isn't
that way.
quite the right word.
I don't think that
what I'm saying is that the pre-existing lawn within the buffer zone, I know the commission, you know, is.
People expand on us all the time, so that you will approve something, and then all of a sudden the lawn starts to grow. So that's one issue. The other one is the use of fertilizer, and what types of fertilizer are used to keep a lawn. That we've got
And
some performance
pesticide.
standards on that as well.
Oh, we know that you'll have conditions in the order conditions for fertilizer usage, and that's why we're going with the tall fescues, so that it will be a much better improvement than is existing out there. To cut that lawn back to the 25-foot line,
I mean, we are removing 2,600 square feet of lawn from the blue line to the green line. There's 2,600 square feet less of lawn, which is kind of a lot.
Did you hold on a second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I can appreciate what you're saying about the 25-foot zone. We have already taken the lawn halfway back from where it is before, so, I mean, obviously, we'd like to be able to do it if you can see your way to approving it, but if it's a huge issue, you know.
You know, let's wait till we're there. We're on site. There may be some reason why we say, sure, you know, go ahead. The particulars of the site sometimes will dictate some flexibility, and we have discretion in that regard, so.
It's basically only about 5 feet, a 5-foot strip.
Yeah, so
Here, I
it
just-
might be, you know, once
Yeah.
we look at it, maybe the terrain sort of dictates that it should be at the point you're talking about. Can we set a site walk for the 27th, the Saturday after Easter? That's the 27th of April? Does that works for me? 27th of April? Does that work for you, Nancy, or?
Sure.
They may want to start sooner. Can we do it earlier than that?
I'd love to do it this Saturday if you're available this Saturday.
What about this Saturday? Can you do this Saturday?
So this Saturday, I can't. Saturday after, I can, but that's Easter, right?
I can be.
I know you want to get going, but we could okay it on that date.
Okay.
You know, we could
You could?
vote then.
Okay.
Yes, once.
Yeah, it's a
John,
public
what do you
meeting. We
think?
can
It's a
vote
public
that day.
meeting. We could vote on that day.
yeah, we'd love to catch the grass growing season, so that'd be great.
Yeah,
Coming.
just heating up now.
Right.
Yeah, and getting pretty wet.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do the 27th. And we, like I say, we can vote then.
Did you say 27th?
7th,
Okay with me. If you
27th.
can't make it, then you can't make this Saturday. So the 27th. But before we go, are there any other questions from the commissioners? Are there any abutters or members of the public or citizens that would like to, I'm not sure there's a difference between members of the public and, whatever. Anybody want to say anything, you're invited to do so. Hearing none, with the assent of the applicant, then we'll see you at your house at 8 o'clock on Saturday, the 27th.
It's a public meeting, so you can vote on that day and move you along.
Absolutely. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you all. Next on the agenda, number 5, is 1072 Brush Hill Road. You all set?
You guys are all set?
We're ready.
For the record, I'm Peter Lyons with Collins Engineering Group, representing the owners at 1072 Brush Hill Road. This is for a septic repair. Quick overview of the property, we have a DVW associated with a perennial stream in the rear of the property. We're doing everything we can to push the proposed septic away from both of those resource areas. We end up in the front yard. What we're proposing is rerouting the plumbing from the rear of the house away from the existing cesspool and to the front yard. We're proposing a raised pump system around the project. We show erosion control, which starts up on the north edge of the project and wraps around the proposed leaching field and ties off at the side of the house. We have also shown a dewatering location as well as soil stockpile areas, all trying to maximize the distance away from the stream as well as the wetlands. A few small trees coming down, otherwise it's mostly cleared area that the system is going in.
When you say a few small, how big?
There are some really big ones on the site, but we will be avoiding those. It looks like, just by the size of the trees, probably at least 1 or 2 12 inches, and maybe a 6-inch by where the tanks are going.
Okay, we need to know exactly how many trees of a caliber of 3 inches at 5-foot level are coming out exactly.
Okay. Are you trying to do a site walk out here, or if we got you that number, are you okay with it?
I think we're looking at a sidewalk. Kind of
Yeah, when were the flags placed?
I'd say January.
You know, Steve?
Yeah, I've taken a look at the flags. They're relatively conservative as well. They were placed by Brook Monroe. And let me tell you when, if I can find my original notes on it. Let's see, 1072 Brush Hill Road. High water. 2/5/19 they were placed.
Thank you, Steve.
Sure. Just for your information.
Yes.
What's that?
Should be
Always,
on the-
always put that on the plan. When the flags.
Data delineation.
Okay, just general policy.
Okay.
In terms of the existing infrastructure, what's,
As far as the septic system goes, there's a single line to a leaching pit located between wetland flags 11 and 12. So currently, the pit is in the wetlands. Part of our proposal is to decommission that pit, pump it and fill it with a clean sand.
so,
That
Good
area
idea.
is also surrounded by an 8-inch straw wattle.
Sounds like an upgrade.
Yeah. Where is the existing cesspool on the plan? Am I missing-
B12, look at B12.
Point it to you. Right down here.
it's right here.
Yeah, so right,
Someplace in here.
right now it's seeping out into the wetlands, so we're trying to clean it up.
It's providing a lot of nutrients to that wetland.
And chemicals.
Yes, that's the problem.
Okay.
All right, is there any kind of a, it's a good move, but is there any landscape plan, is there any room for any trees, is what I'm looking for? Now, we've got, you said 3 trees coming out, 1 to 2 12-inch, 1 6-inch. Is there any way that you could replace, though, and I understand you can't replace on site literally because of the leachings.
I mean, would an alternative maybe to do like some blueberry bushes around where they're gonna be having some disturbance around the leaching pit? Maybe we could do
Probably
something.
some kind of restoration
at the end
type
of the
activity there. That might be,
Yeah.
Why don't we see the site and then...
I agree with you, Judith.
Yeah.
And may I suggest that you just take and tape the trees that are coming out?
Sure.
Easy enough.
Good idea.
Yep.
All right, so can we do that on the 27th of April? Are you
Sure.
around that then?
Someone will be,
Okay, good.
probably me.
All right, good. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Are there abutters or members of the public? Yes. Please.
Andrea Franklin, a butter to the left.
To the north, as you go up
I don't-
Rush Hill?
North, south.
West.
West, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill Kelly is on the other side. Couple things. We put in, when we did a renovation, we put in a septic, the same sort of, and it failed almost right away. There's now a...
Was it a perking
It was
issue?
the pipes, and it was behind our barn, which is pretty much equal, the same place where that's almost gonna be.
The same elevation you're talking.
I don't want to say
Generally,
that, generally
Generally,
speaking,
yes,
yeah.
it's close.
Maybe ours was a tad lower, but we're right next to it. And it failed almost right away. And now there's a private sewer just on the property line so Carol Bowen, Andrea Franklin, and I can't remember the next guy next, there's a private sewer line right there now.
What do you mean by private sewer line?
The town of Milton wouldn't take it over, and so we put it in from, it was in the woods just off of
Milton's-
Dollar Lane.
What?
Okay.
Dollar Lane, Milton.
Dollar Lane, yes.
Oh,
And from that direction, we brought it back, so we own it. The house next to me, us and Carol Bowen, it's a private line, and it,
Tying into what?
yeah.
into the, I knew you were gonna ask all these
The
questions.
MWRA?
Yes, not a Milton one, but a
Well, the
Boston?
Boston, yeah, I guess.
Hyde
'Cause
Park-
that's-
Hyde Park area.
Maybe.
Interesting.
So,
We need to find out if that's correct before we
oh, it is
go on.
correct. My husband did it. We did it. My husband was the lawyer for the woman that sold the house, the estate that sold to Carol Bowen. And my husband was the lawyer that did all that. I was there when the yard was dug up. There are 1, 2, 3 manholes,
Can anybody else tie into
Did
it?
it cross any wetlands?
Carol Bowen tied in, we tied in. And it was done because Carol Bowen's, she just had a big tank and it totally failed. So we had to solve that before my husband, who was the lawyer, he wasn't the real estate person, but he was the lawyer selling the house. And he was the lawyer on this.
Is the Board of Health aware of that?
What?
Well, I'm sure they'd have.
No, well, I'm saying that,
Oh, it was years ago.
So,
How long ago about?
15,
Okay.
20?
And where is
How
that
far
sewer?
from-
Is it in the street? Is it?
No.
Where is it located?
It's behind my barn. And in Carol's backyard, and in the backyard of the next door neighbor.
And you're saying it ties into the Boston sewer, not the Milton sewers?
It's not, Milton.
Well, we tie into MWRA, it's all one big
Right.
trunk line.
Yeah.
Right, I mean,
It's everybody.
basically, but it's private, because the town said we could do this, but the town didn't want to own it.
Is it a force main? Do you remember those words by any chance? Or is it
A
gravel?
pump, is there a pump?
Is there a pump? Do you have is there a red light outside each one of the homes?
No.
There's no red lights. Okay, it's probably not a force main.
We have
Yes.
natural flow. The house up the street was going to put in, they were going to have to pump up the street to a Milton sewer line.
This is probably, you're probably thinking, oh, this is interesting. But the
He probably
question
wasn't
is,
even told because it's private.
Yeah, it's a first to me, to be honest.
but if others could tie into it, you would. it would
With
make
private,
sense.
so we have limited numbers that are allowed to tie into it. And they have to get an easement from myself, Carol Bowen, and the other owner. So there's an easement issue.
Right. But if you think, and I know you're just guessing, but if yours failed and if this one to fail, then
I'm
it
just,
would make sense to.
I'm just putting in that nobody knows that this exists in terms of the town, because it's private.
Right.
Ours failed, we're thinking it's gonna, and I know that they're probably trying to sell the house, and this, so they're trying to do exactly what we had to do for Carol's house before she owned it.
You're saying that it's private, but it's not exactly private. If it ties into the MWRA, and you
I
must
think
have gotten
But-
Line, they probably paid for the line
Oh,
themselves.
sure. I know you have to
Paid
pay.
for it.
within your property, you paid for this.
And I think
Okay.
it's a maintenance thing, so if something does go wrong,
You have to fix it.
That's
we have
like
to
any
fix it.
sewer line on your property, that's the case.
Right.
Okay.
So I can call my husband because he gave me permission if you want to ask technical questions.
why don't we save that for the
save
sidewalk?
that.
Because,
Sidewalk, good
so
We should take a look at it, because
maybe you look into the feasibility of connecting to any existing line?
I mean, that's typically the first step of any of these projects. Obviously, once in a while, something like this comes up that nobody knows about. I personally don't do that. That research is done ahead of time through my office. You know, it's something we could look into. This has already gone before Board of Health. I believe it's all been approved. You know, so they kind of do their own checks too, as far as, you know, if we're gonna tie into sewer or be forced into a septic system.
well, I think part of their protocol is that they won't approve it unless it's a certain distance away from the closest public sewer line.
Yeah, it's.
And they probably don't even know about a private sewer
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And Peter, is the perk test information on this plan?
It is. That was another thing I was gonna mention. I mean, I don't know why the neighbors failed, but I can say that we found unfavorable soils down to about 7 feet. Our design gets into the better sandy loam underneath that. So if you
Understood.
build something on a silty loam, it's not gonna drain. You know, that could be a problem, but no, I mean, we're confident that the design will work.
However, you had a groundwater elevation at 69. You have to be 4 feet above that.
Correct. So
So
it's
you're gonna
gonna
be filling in, you're gonna be making an Indian burial mound, right?
Right, and we're concerned about the mound, the possibility of need of a mound.
That's gonna be required.
Well, there will be a slight mound.
Your
this side-
groundwater is 30 inches down.
Yep.
Steve, could you repeat that? You're talking about the regulations, what is it?
Yes, the groundwater is 30 inches down.
Yeah.
I believe you have to be 4 feet above the groundwater, is that correct?
That is correct. In this case, we've been granted a variance to reduce that to 3 feet through the Board of Health.
Okay.
There will be about a foot of mound on this side. It will be more significant down towards the wetlands. and,
Sure.
You know, everything
Yep.
naturally slopes that way.
Understood.
So instead of being a big mound, you know, kind of think of it as like tabled and then it'll drop off to the rear. This design isn't pushing any water onto the abutting properties.
Right.
It's pushing everything up towards the rear.
That's good.
Into the wetlands.
Towards the wetlands?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is normal.
Yeah, I mean, it's plenty distance away. We propose an impervious barrier around the whole thing, you know, which forces the effluent down. Currently, the sewer is dumping out of a pipe right into the wetlands, so, you know, this is a much better design. Or design at all, for that matter.
I think some homework with the Board of Health is warranted.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
if you
so.
could do that, Steve.
Sure.
Also, can you make a modification to the note where it says the contractor shall decommission, pump, and fill or remove? So,
Okay, no remove.
yeah.
Yeah,
What was that, Hans? I didn't-
Note number 12.
Yeah,
So if it can just be filled in place as opposed to excavated out, and
Yes.
Okay.
that's the better option because it's less disturbance.
and you say the existing septic system, but really, it's the cesspool.
It's a pipe and a hole in the ground.
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
The other thing we're concerned about, just because, but I don't think it has to do with this so much, but you do talk about planting trees and trees. There's been a dead tree on that property for years and years and years. They've refused to take it down. And my son cut their lawn, and he was concerned because the tree was on the Greenleaf property, but some of the largest branches would go over to Carol Bowen's property, and my son would cut the grass, and for a while, he refused to cut the grass because he was afraid of some of those limbs landing and killing him.
It's a large American beech.
And it's huge,
Yeah.
and it's still there, and that tells us that we are concerned about I don't know what they're gonna do the least amount of planting to pass, because there's been no maintenance for so many years.
Does somebody live in the house?
They rent out part of it, but no owner lives in the house.
We'll take a look at it when we're there.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so that's the 27th. I don't mean to cut you off. Did you? have
No,
anything?
I think,
You've raised some good points.
Mr. Kelly, did you want to say something?
What's gonna happen on the 27th?
Another site walk?
We're going to go out there and take a look at it.
Yeah,
So I'd like to be there for that.
absolutely.
Public meeting.
not at 8 o'clock, because you're not going to be there. You're going to be at
We
the
should
other
be, I
place.
don't think we'll be very long on
No, I
Wagon
just
Wheels.
was-
So we should be there by
9 o'clock?
8:30,
8:30, 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Okay.
in that time frame.
Yeah.
And it's an open meeting, and we can vote
And,
and do whatever needs to be done.
I know that Carol Bowen would have been here if she could have been, but she's in Spain right now, probably having a wonderful time. So will notifications like this go out again?
No.
No.
So I will need to tell her, or
Yeah.
Bill will
Yes.
tell her that there's a site at around 8:30 on the 9 o'clock on the 27th.
Yes. All right, any other comments, questions, suggestions? Yes.
Just a point of clarification, ma'am, could you just refresh my memory? Did you say it was Carol Bowen's home, the sale of that home that precipitated
No.
this private sewer?
It was the
extension?
sale,
Of this house?
Mary Jane Crocker owned the property. She was very elderly. She passed away. Her family sold the house to Carol Bowen. Carol
Okay.
Bowen is now the owner of the property today.
Okay, okay.
And my husband, and we were friends with, and we knew that this was a problem. And the family approached my husband, and because we were next door neighbors and friends, and said, what do we do?
Sure. Well, just for informational purposes, while we were speaking, I peeked at Carol Bowen's property on the assessor's database to see if there was any permits attached online, and I didn't see anything.
Interesting.
Sometimes there are.
Right, oh, yes.
Yeah, but not this one.
Right, interesting. Okay.
All right, we'll see you on the 27th?
27th.
27th?
So
Perfect.
do we, I know there were a couple comments about the plan. Do you want anything revised before then, or?
Number 12, note number 12 on the fill in place.
Number 12, at the tree count, you said we could just flag up the trees
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay.
instead of, I mean, do we have to revise a plan, or can that just be like in an order of conditions? Or how do you want?
Yeah, we can
I just
put
have
that
to
in an
know if
order
I
of
have
conditions.
changes prior to the meeting.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we know generally the area and we'll be able to see it, and if you flag them,
Right,
we'll be able to
Yeah.
observe them.
Sure,
yeah, okay.
easy enough. It's
Okay.
very easy to see, easy to walk and
The
see.
leaching field and the work limit is currently staked out as
Yes.
shown on the plan, so I can go by
Okay.
and locate the trees that will be coming on.
That would be fine.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Interesting. Look forward to chat with the Board of Health. For being here. It's helpful. Absolutely helpful. Yeah, it's quite possible.
All right, next.
That's what she was looking
Next on the agenda is request for determination of applicability, 397 Hillside Street. You got it, all right.
You
You
guys,
don't have to go far.
Right.
ready when you guys are?
We're set.
Again, Peter Lyons, representing the homeowner. I'm with Collins Engineering Group. We have a proposed septic repair on an existing four-bedroom home with a perennial stream off property to the rear. The 100 and 200-foot resource areas have been shown in blue on the plan. Our proposal is to reroute the existing plumbing to a septic tank, pump chamber, to a leaching field in the front corner of the yard. As you can see, we're basically doing everything we can to push it away from the stream. Along with this, we're proposing erosion control around the project. We show soil stockpile locations as well as dewatering areas. We show detailed drawings for the dewatering and the erosion control. This one is a pretty straightforward septic repair, mostly lawn. I would say 2 6-inch trees to be removed.
One of them is a beautiful tulip tree that was only planted there a few years ago.
Yeah, I know the property, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So other than those 2 trees, I would say the 4 to 6 inch range. It's all existing lawn to be back to lawn once we're done. There will be a slight slope towards the rear of the property based on the high groundwater out there. That's about it. Any questions or concerns on this one?
This is Ellen Anderson's.
You know, one of the questions I have, this is a lovely little house, and if it's being sold,
She was a great person.
and there's a septic for a 4-bedroom house, what if it gets torn down and then there's a 6-bedroom house put in its place? Is it the same size septic to accommodate a much bigger house? No?
Nope, this is designed for a 4-bedroom house, so they wouldn't be able to increase the flow without going before Board of Health and, expanding the leaching, essentially.
That's
What are you
correct.
saying, Hans? Yeah?
Yeah, they'd have to expand the system.
For a bigger bedroom house.
If they were going to add bedrooms, yes.
Yes.
I think we need to look at this site, you know, I know that tulip tree, and it's in great shape. And it's, yeah.
Beautiful.
Maybe we can have a little area we could move this or something. I think we should put it on our sidewalk.
I made the suggestion to the property manager when I was there. He happened to be there at the same time.
Oh, good, okay.
And see if he could move it.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you know, it can be moved. And I said, then great. That's what I said.
Yeah, this,
But he said it would be costly to move it.
How big is it?
About a 6-inch.
Okay.
And it's about 25 feet high now, I would say, on that order.
Yeah, it's
20, 25?
big enough to be a pain to move around.
With a big spade. You need a big spade.
Okay.
Truck-mounted spade.
So any other issues? I think we should see it, but any other?
you know, we were next door several times, John. Remember right next door, that little sort of carriage house garage that they put the upstairs?
Oh, yeah, I knew.
Also-
Anderson.
Also
I've been in
owned by
house.
the same people, by the way.
Yeah.
Those two houses are owned
Yeah, I
by
know.
the same owners.
So was this previous system where you got decommissioned pump and fill existing leaching pit? That's just like a circle. Is that the same kind of a cesspool?
Pretty much, yeah.
No,
It's just,
David and Susan Morse who own this house.
What's that?
Right, they own both of them.
At any rate,
Oh, they don't?
No.
Oh, okay, thank you. I know Dave.
No, you weren't saying no to,
no, I was
Oh,
saying,
okay.
sorry, private.
all right.
Right.
So, yeah, this will definitely be a significant upgrade then, yes?
yeah, yep.
That's good news again. So we'll see you at the same time? Site walk for this?
27th. 27th April? Oh, from one to the other.
What did you say, 8:30 for the other one, or 9 o'clock?
About
What do you want to do?
8:45 for the other one?
Probably 8:45, the other one. Yeah, and this will be 9:15 plus.
Perfect. Any other questions, comments, abutters, members of the public? Hearing none, we'll see you on the 27th.
Just call in to Kathy we might change our sequence depending on where other things are that day.
Yep.
Okay, just call in to Kathy to just confirm.
Like the week prior or something?
Exactly. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, notice of intent, 156 Forbes Road.
It's number 7, I think.
And this was, we were on a site walk. What's the date of the site walk?
30th,
30th? Oh, okay.
30th March. Yep.
Is this yours as well?
This is number 7. Let's see, what number is this? 7. There it is. Good.
Okay, for the record, it's Mary Rimmer, Rimmer Environmental Consulting.
Representing Michael Beard, property owner. And we had an initial public hearing and also site visit on this project. The commission asked for a couple of plan modifications, which you see on the plan before you. One of which was to identify the 25 and 100-foot setbacks from, our offsets from the drainage channel that discharges from the end of Forbes Road to the salt marsh in the rear of the property. So we have a 25 and 100-foot shown on the plan now there.
And 100, is this 100, Mary? I can't quite see it.
Yes, that's the 100 right there.
It's the 100, and this is the 25 here. Is that correct? And this is the 25?
That's that 25. The 100-foot,
Is
actually,
over.
here's,
So that's 55 there to the corner?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
this is
Mary.
the 25.
Yep.
This is the 100, and the 100 intersects the 100-foot to the wetland in the back here.
Right.
The other item that was included in the plan change
was to provide a detail on the infiltration trench along, and we've included a trench on both sides of the building now. And you can see it's been added to this side here, as well as this side here. It's 5 foot wide, 2 foot deep. It's been sized by a professional engineer to accommodate a 1-inch storm, more than accommodate a 1-inch storm, and the calculations are at the top of the page there, that if you want to scroll down.
Sure.
Right, so there's a 126 cubic foot that's generated from the 1-inch storm, assuming a 1,600 square foot roof, and each side of the roof, I should say, and then the total amount that's provided is 252. So we're in excess of what's required for a 1-inch storm. That's the Boston Water and Sewer standard for infiltration.
Yes.
You did what we asked you to do. And actually, there's been some conversation going back and forth about whether or not this is a planning board issue, which is beyond our jurisdiction anyway, but the information I've got back is that it's not. As long as, sort of the old-fashioned way of saying, the domestic
Yeah,
servants
the
are
servants
paid.
can live there, yeah.
As long as they're paid.
It doesn't say how much they have to be paid.
It does not.
What sort of currency, yeah.
Right.
So are there any other questions from commissioners? Hearing none, are there any abutters, members of the public, citizens that would like to come forward? And
I have a quick one.
Perfect.
Thanks. I'm Moira Foley. I live on Sherrill Drive, and I got a quick question. If you could explain site equipment, at the end of the day, where does it go?
Yes. The equipment on the site has to be parked overnight outside of the buffer zone. So, and you see the well, you don't now, but if you could move it back.
Yep, sure.
You'll see the buffer zones, which are the,
And Mary, you might want to just point them out of the laser pointer.
Sure, so.
Buffer zones.
You've got a buffer zone here.
Yep.
So would this be on Forbes Road?
So basically, there's nothing, they would have to be, they couldn't be parked in the driveway, because that's all buffers.
Correct.
Unless there was a condition that allowed that to happen on a driveway. It's not in an area that's on soil or anything like that. So I don't know what your policy is on that, but if the intention is to, it would not be possible to meet that condition at this particular site, that construction equipment would have to be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, what did you say?
You go, I'm sorry.
The contractor would have, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sure. The contractor would have to
store and refuel.
store it someplace
somewhere
else, store equipment someplace else, because there isn't a property, a place on site that's not in the buffer zone. Only
And that was the
area would
question.
be the front,
Yeah, so
the front of the
basically
property
whole-
here.
The whole area is buffer zone, so to speak, so
Yes.
the equipment would, okay.
I mean, there is
Effectively,
room
yes.
between the
Yeah,
garden and the
outside.
house back here that they theoretically could meet that criteria, but the 200-foot riverfront area is here. So the only portion of the site that's not within any resource or buffer zone is in the front of the house, and it's sloping, and you can't, yes, you
It's
can't.
much too steep, yeah.
How long do you anticipate the construction to last at the site?
I don't know. I don't have the answer for that.
Because this is basically a second house on the same property.
But that is a standard. It's actually pre-printed on our, and when we issue an order of conditions, it's already printed on the form that says the contractor cannot store equipment overnight.
That's what I was wondering,
Right.
because
They leak.
in the same area, somebody is storing a truck at a different piece of property. And there's a truck, so I mean, you know.
Well, that would be significant to us, but our
Yeah, that's
biggest
another
fear.
issue, I'm only talking.
Well, no, our biggest fear is the equipment, the hydraulic equipment that has the cable, the hoses, hydraulic hoses. They pop all the time, and they spew out oil. And if you're sitting in the wetlands, that's bad. So that's why we try to keep them out. And it also applies not just to overnight parking, but it applies to refueling. That's a big issue, because refueling...
Refuel off-site.
Yes. Right. But that's, as I said, already pre-printed in our orders. So legitimate concern, and we will
Thank
address
you.
that.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
You
Anything
don't
else?
do hours, do you?
What's that?
Hours of construction, or is that somebody else? I could talk to
That's
Michael.
building permit, yeah.
That would be somebody else.
Building or zoning.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question or make a comment? Hearing none, I think we've got all of the questions answered that we had at the site walk. Is there anything else?
So what is the disposition of the overnight equipment? I mean,
You can't
is
do
it?
it.
Well, I
Can't
think
leave
you're
it there.
primarily concerned with the, the excavator that's going to come in and dig
Yes.
for the foundation.
Yeah.
And- Yeah,
Right.
and they'll just have to leave the property at the
Okay.
end of the day. If
Okay.
that's what your
Yeah.
condition is.
Yeah.
that-
Right.
Okay.
That's not a
That was
problem.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, any other concerns, Wendy?
Just since the neighbor brought this up, is it possible that that equipment would be stored on Forbes Road?
That would be up to the town. I think
Okay.
you have to, any overnight parking, you'd have to have a permit from the town.
But that's not in our purview, correct?
That's not an our purview. All we can do is say you can't store it within the buffer zone.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to
And we're done.
clarify
Then
it
it
for the
becomes,
neighbors.
where they can store it, I don't know. But I'm sure the building commissioner could direct them into the appropriate town person that can say, yes, you can put it on the street or not put it on the street.
Okay,
All we're doing is pushing it outside of our jurisdiction. Right?
got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, with anything else, any other concerns, or can we move forward to an order of conditions? I know you're not going to move for it. But if we don't move for it, then we do nothing, then after the passage of 10 days?
30
21.
days.
Is it 30 days?
30 days, I think, altogether.
Then it gets
Yeah.
passed automatically.
Automatically.
Yeah.
So I think we should vote on it. And my original concern was that it was too big for the area, but apparently under the zoning bylaws, it's okay. So our only concern is really the environmental impact. And I'm glad you're putting trenches on both sides. I think that's of assistance, but I think it's appropriate. One of the things that we should add to the condition, and I think you'll be fine with, is that the debris or the extra soil at the back of the property should be removed.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Piles,
think we all
the
agree.
existing pile.
Yeah.
So with that, is there a motion to approve the order of conditions with those other conditions, yeah? Is there a second?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? You want to second it? If we don't have it, it's going to pass anyway, so I'll second it. Is there any further discussion?
It just seems bizarre to have a second house on a property. I know, I looked at the zoning, and I can see how it's being interpreted, but, I mean, it's not a pre-existing building, it's not pre-1938, it's a brand-new house on a single-family property, and this is the first we've encountered.
You're right, it's a zoning issue, it's not a conservation.
That's right. It's not a scientific issue. It's not a technical issue at
Yeah.
all. It's,
Okay.
We really don't have an accessory use specific zoning bylaw, other than for domestic assistance. You
And
can have a
this is
separate
it,
house.
apparently, yeah,
Which is
on a brand-new structure.
cutting edge and
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
2 centuries ago, it was cutting edge.
right.
So I think it's really beyond the purview. I share your concerns.
Yeah.
Because when
It opens up,
the house first came in,
yeah.
there was a shed, which was like 6 by, 10.
Oh, that's
And then it became a barn, and it went from 6 by 10, and then it went to a barn, and then after some discussion, it just disappeared.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we approved the order of conditions for the house, there was
That's
no
right.
shed, and there was no barn.
That's right, yeah.
And now we have a house.
Now we have a second house, basically.
But I think it's beyond the purview of our jurisdiction.
Okay.
So with that said, any further discussion? We've got a motion and a second with conditions. All in favor? Okay, you're good to go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
Next on the agenda is abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, 1387 Brush Hill Road, continued hearing. Welcome, Mr. Hack.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you again.
Yeah. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Judith, yeah. And then where's number 8, I think.
You know, we had requested additional changes.
Is this a new one today, Val?
Yes.
Thank you. You don't have it digitally in your pocket, do you? No, I'm just kidding, just kidding.
Thank you.
So we come before you with paper copies pursuant to your request. We have the new line as discussed at the walk. We've also overlaid previous lines. I'll give you a moment just to look at it.
Put one of the previous lines up on the board there. Or two of the previous lines, okay, sorry, not the most recent one. But there are two previous lines up on the board.
Right.
That's weird.
Just FYI.
That's weird.
Those are the 2015 and the 2018. 15 is the green, the 18 is that correct, or no?
For the record, my name is Olovia Costa. I'm a wetland scientist at Garden Consulting. Do you mind if I take a closer look?
Please.
Yes, so this is the previously submitted wetland line overlay. So we have the 2018, the original wetland line that we proposed with the NRED in green. And this is the 2015 line. So the plan that you have in front of you now have an overlay of those two wetland lines with the wetland line that we agreed upon during the sidewalk on Saturday, March 30th.
You've got a 30-foot non-disturbed line.
Should be 25.
We have and I don't know if that's measured at 30 feet, but it's actually a 25-foot non-disturbed line.
But we'll take the 30-foot.
Okay with us.
Yes, that appears to be a minor engineering mistake. That could be corrected.
It's called a scrivener's error.
Been there, done that.
Same here.
No, this looks better. This looks more
Yes, it does.
my memory of as we walked it.
So I don't actually have it here with me, but I know I was drawing the connecting, we had connected some lines.
Yes.
Steve, did you go over that?
Yes, I did, and it looks just like what we did. We went from 3 to 7 direct.
Yep.
We moved back number 9. We moved back number 11. We moved back 14 and 15, RR, you see, those Rs. And we created a 16A as well, between 16 and 17. So I believe that what we did in the field is reflected on this plan.
Perfect.
Finalement. On parle français? No. On parle français? No, okay, sorry. I'm speaking French.
Yes, I can understand a little bit of it.
All right, looks good to me. Any other questions, concerns that you had?
No, it looks good.
Okay, and for the public's benefit, we did go to the site many times and asked for these adjustments to be made in the line, and it was done. So I thank you. I thank you both for doing that. So this is an RDA. So it looks like it's.
Sorry, yes.
NRED. NRED, okay. So it looks appropriate for approval. Is there consensus to do so? Any concerns?
No.
Steve, any concerns?
No concerns.
Okay, looks good to me. Is there a motion then to approve this abbreviated notice of resource area delineation? Yes.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Good to go. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thanks for your
Thank you.
patience.
Thank you for working with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Also, please let me know if you need additional copies of the plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. You've got some for the official file, Steve? You've got.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very
And
much.
I would like a digital copy of that as well.
Yes, I will email you a digital copy.
Great.
All right, next on the agenda, number 9, order of conditions extension, DCR Houghton's Pond. I thought didn't we, oh, Houghton's Pond, I'm sorry.
It's pond,
Yeah,
right.
I didn't
We did the
like this.
trailside extension.
Yeah,
That's correct.
I had too many questions about this.
About this?
Yeah, I think they need to come before us. It's been, how many years? It's been 3 years?
Nearly 3 years.
Yeah. You know, we had a lot of questions about what chemicals they were using, how they were controlling the vegetation in the pond, what exactly the treatment plan is currently. I mean, I had a lot of questions I would ask them, but I'm not inclined to just okay the extension without somebody coming before us.
You know, I agree with it. I'm not trying to put form over substance, but there have been, I think the last time we went through this, we asked them to give us an MSDS because they suggested some new chemicals.
Okay.
Approved by the DEP. They were in line with DEP, but
Okay.
we didn't have an MSDS for whatever the new chemical was.
Uh-huh.
I think it was this one, the last time
Okay.
that they asked for approval, which was, I guess, 3 years ago. So I think that's a legitimate request, and if they just show up and if they have a new chemical,
Yeah.
I'd like to know about it.
Me too. So we can ask them then to come in May and...
Yep.
Okay.
And you might know this, have there been changes in the, this aquatic vegetation control? There were the last time they were here,
I thought that was.
or maybe it
the
was 2
last-
times ago.
So the last people that were here for that were people I thought for the golf course.
Golf course?
Yeah,
Yes.
not for, so I don't remember.
And this, since you have thousands of
What?
people swimming in this water,
Yeah.
there's a heightened scrutiny
Right.
that we need to apply.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, just would seek confirmation as part of a lake management plan if there's any
Yeah.
EPA constraints on the pond itself, and then
All right, so,
it's part of a larger plan.
Steve, would you ask them to come in next time? So we'll
Yes.
just continue this?
I will
until
follow
we
it up.
hear from them?
Yep.
Perfect.
Our next meeting is May 14th, which is the day before their order expires. Is that a problem?
They could meet us on the 27th if that's a problem. Because I agree
That
with you,
makes
Wendy,
it
it's a good
really
point.
difficult for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would, moving it up to the 27th?
No,
Or the one day would
the
be
one day
14th.
makes it really difficult for us to get out, just to get it out of the office. And the next day.
Just as long as you give them a place to meet. Where are we meeting first?
8 o'clock is it Wagon
Wagon
Wheel?
Wheel?
Wagon Wheel Drive, then
Well,
Brush Hill
if they
Road.
could, it would be easiest if they did it first,
Sure.
so we know where we're gonna be. Because
Right.
otherwise, we lose track of time, and I don't want them to get lost or discouraged. So we could meet them right at 7 Wagon Wheel.
Yep.
We could do that, it'd be great. Good point, Wendy, thanks.
8 AM. Yep, sure.
The other thing I just want to make note of is Houghton's Pond. There's the handicap ramp there, John, remember we okayed?
Yes, we did.
And the material apparently is not holding up at
Oh, really?
all. Not at all, no.
Oh,
Really?
Very bad material, and Carl, I'm trying to think of Carl's last name.
Carl Pastore.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
I've known him
I-
for
I
many
talked to Carl at church, and he said to me, it's just completely deteriorated. So they're going to come, they're going to talk to you, Steve, get on the calendar and just get a modification of some sort so that we can open that up again. They're going to have to put down new material.
What kind
Wow.
of material did they put down?
I said, research it, because we don't like the
was-
pressure-treated So they're gonna try to find out some other material, but whatever, and I
don't
said,
know-
we
I don't
need
know
to
what it was.
learn what that was.
What was the
that
original
fails.
type of material?
I don't
Yes,
remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but
I
it
mean,
failed.
it's some kind of wood.
Yeah.
It's the wooden bridge.
Right.
It's like a walkway
Oh, the
that goes.
boardwalk.
Along by the pond.
Oh,
the
okay.
little
Goes
round.
over the marsh area.
Yeah,
Handicap.
it's not holding up?
No, not at all.
Oh, interesting.
It's failed, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
I noticed it was closed.
Yeah, that's why it's
why.
closed.
Oh.
Yeah, so I said, we need to know what that material is so that it doesn't get used again in front of
Right.
us. And, yeah, so.
Sure,
He'll-
I'd be happy
He'll
to.
call you, I think.
Wonderful. Did you give him my name? Did you tell him?
I did.
Did he laugh? Okay. Good, good, that's great.
All right.
He's a very good guy. I think,
Okay, number 10 is the enforcement order, 166 Granite Avenue. Have we heard from anybody on that?
that was.
That's the enforcement order.
166 Granite. We found the builder, and we're backtracking now. We're going through the routine of trying to figure out who the builder is being paid by. We have
Well,
not found the
I thought there was
owner.
somebody, was a house flipper, but I thought that was in the original letter that we had from the
We don't
DPW?
know, we don't know who the owner is presently, Kathy and I.
Okay.
So we're working through it.
All right.
Just to give you the update on that one.
So it's just sitting there right now?
Yes.
Because we issued a cease and desist, and so did the
So the
DPW.
Yes, DPW or building,
I'm sorry, building, yeah.
building department, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Next one is enforcement order 50 Summer Street. Had they asked for a continuance to a date certain?
No, they actually provided a couple of plans that you need to see.
Yeah, the markup.
Remember the markups? Did you take a look at them? I'll put them up on the board for your comments. I think that's the best way to,
I
do
did,
it.
actually.
That was number 11, is that correct? 11A, there's a stone bound. I'll show you the other one first, stone bound. Yeah, this one right here.
Oh, yeah.
I did see
Okay.
that.
I
I
figured
just
you'd
went
need
by
to
it.
see it and comment on it.
Yeah, they'll need to kind of explain a bit better.
Right.
Let's do.
Excuse me. What did I do with it? I just saw it. Oh.
I saw it, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Okay, and there's another one that shows a stone bound. It's another very sparse, rough. It's a rough sketch, is what it is. Okay? But it's a start.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay? It's a start. You can see the stone bound on that one, at each end of the property. And you can see some shrubs in the back.
Sticking up 3 feet, I mean, that's
Right.
substantial enough.
Yeah, that's substantial, but
Well, I just lost it. Do you have them there?
what would you people like
Are you looking for this
to
stuff?
do next,
I know
I
I
guess is the
had it.
question.
So,
Thanks.
yes, they would need to provide what sort of evergreen trees they would like to plant,
Sort and size, of course.
and size.
Does this mean that they did not retain any kind of a landscape architect?
No, I think this was done by a professional landscape architect, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
don't,
Probably forgot to stamp it.
Okay.
I hope none of them are watching.
Bob, you can just stamp that, right?
Like a 49 or 50 cent stamp.
You throw your license in front of that.
So, and then the shrubs, what type of shrubs? They really should have somebody who's a professional work on the plan.
Which is what we said at the
Yes,
site visit.
but they said it was too much money. So,
Thanks. Good night.
good night.
Steve, just to orient, on this one here, in fact.
Yes, the one we're
where-
looking at?
Yes.
We're looking-
Where is this street.
The street is to our left.
Okay, so where it says Summer Street, that's the house next door. And to the top is that side street. And on the other side then is where that.
No, the top is the conservation
our
property.
land.
In fact,
Drain line doesn't go like that.
Well, it kind of,
yes, there is a drain line that does go like that. Yeah, it's open on our property, on the
it's in
conservation.
off the street.
But it comes in from here.
It does, you are correct.
It doesn't come in.
It's going the other way. It's flowing
Right.
towards the top of the diagram.
That's correct, to the east.
Yeah,
The
so
top is to
that
the
needs
east.
to be corrected.
Well,
Well, they'd say it's correct because it's the house that has the problem is over here. The
Yes.
pipe comes along here,
Okay. That's
and then it
correct.
opens here. It's underground up
Where it
until
daylights.
this.
Yeah.
And then it daylights here, and then it
Yes.
goes back towards the brook.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
no, it's
And our land.
almost accurate depiction, actually.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
Generally.
wow. What did we tell them? That we wanted some kind of a plan?
A landscape
It's a landscape
architect
plan.
Professionally
or
done.
wetland scientist or, somebody like, for example, gentleman who was here earlier tonight, Brad Holmes.
I mean, I think we have certain standards and we have to
Minimum
maintain.
standards.
Minimum, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And,
Right.
So while we like the intent,
Yes.
good start. I think
Yes.
maybe we can prod them to utilize some sort of consultant to put
Yeah.
together a plan that would meet minimum standards.
Okay, I think that's enough for now.
Okay, and will you
I
put this
will.
on for next month?
Yes.
And just invite them to come in with a...
maybe tell them too that things get recorded, and if they get recorded, those sort of things matter, and,
I don't know if they have that understanding, what a recording is.
They were able to buy the house.
Yes. Okay.
For the deed? Right, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Okay,
All
so
right,
how did we
next-
just leave that? Hold on, I'm sorry, John.
I'm
How
going
did we-
to, I'm going to follow up with the owners
Okay.
and their progeny, I guess, is who I'm following up with, who understand English just fine.
Yes, yeah, she's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
good, thank you.
thank you.
Yep, I've got my marching orders.
12, modification of order 151 Woodland Road. The patient, Mr. Hannigan, thank you.
No, he just arrived. He ju-
Almost didn't make it. Door was locked.
Upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But somebody who exited saved the
Let you
day.
sneak in, all right.
Lucky you.
Good evening.
We knew you were
Good
coming.
evening.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
My name is Robert Hannigan, representing the applicant for 151 Woodland Road. At the last meeting, there was a bit of confusion as to what was issued as regards to orders of conditions. Anyway, I looked at the files and online at the registry of deeds, and as my letter states, the initial order of conditions, 046497, was recorded at the registry of deeds, and I have a reference there. And the second order of conditions was actually issued, but apparently it wasn't recorded. Kathy didn't have any recording information in the file, and I could not see it online, so.
Right, and that was issued on the 31st of January, 2018. Was that number 534? I'm trying to read my own writing here.
0534, yep.
534.
Right, and I included that, I color-coded everything. Yellow was the first order of conditions, and blue was the second order of conditions. I didn't provide the whole 14 pages, just the relevant pages that referenced the plan and the signature page and the additional general conditions. I did include in what I sent you copy of the recorded easement plan that John was asking for. It's recorded on November 6th, 2017. Plan 16 and Plan Book 663, so. The footprint was provided to you in the last meeting pretty much is the same size as the one that was in the initial order conditions.
Now, when you say pretty much, so there's no pool now and there's no hot tub?
Correct.
Hold on a
correct.
second.
Yeah.
Just change it.
To sign as well, the other enforcement order.
Yes, there's, the pool and the hot tub were included under the second order conditions. And without the pool and hot tub, the footprint was 3,275 square feet. The initial order conditions, the footprint was 2,575 square feet. And the current one, including the porch, is 2,220 square feet. So that's a little bit smaller than the, what was approved under the first order of conditions.
Okay. And the driveway easement actually gives the Delaney's the easement to use this property for their driveway to the existing house, but you've widened it to make it 2 lanes now with a planting strip in between?
Yes, right.
Okay. So it's actually not more pavement area because the grassy strip is actually totally permeable?
Yeah, that's going to be a planting strip,
Okay.
yeah. That isn't shown on the first, on the plan for the first order of conditions, but it is shown on the current plan.
So the current plan is the one that should be approved, assuming that we approve.
And how do we treat it, as a modification, John, is that it?
Yeah, I think so. But that would be, what do we have for the current? Maybe trade in front of you.
Sure.
It'd be a modification to the last order of conditions, which is number 534, which
Just the
was...
first one.
No, the last one.
Actually, that brings up a point that I briefly discussed with Steve and Kathy.
Right.
If you issue the second order of conditions,
Just, so specific that it can only be used to purchase trees. We can use it to purchase land as well.
Or how about land management? Because I'm expecting...
Utilize for
reporting.
management of existing lands.
Remember those bird reports?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that. I spoke with them earlier today, finally.
Okay.
So I'm expecting that
Good.
very soon. A not-to-exceed figure, so we can encumber the monies to get them moving on that
Good.
project. To
So I
finish
think
it.
what we need then is some specific language that we can rely on when we say to people, well, if you can't plant the trees, then you owe us
Well, Hans had a good start
8,000 or something. Yeah.
back in November, right?
I believe it was, yes.
So
Yeah.
we should perhaps
Revisit
Would you
that as
re-
well.
re-
And maybe
I
integrate
can try to
it.
build on it, yes.
re-dredge it out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you don't mind?
Yeah.
You know, certainly trees are the priority, but land is
Yes.
equally so.
Okay.
Good. I would like to go on, if you don't mind, to
Sure,
additional
okay.
business. And the first question is regarding that vote you took on, for both 7 and 16 Wentworth Farm Road.
Yes.
Kathy and I, those have not been issued yet, those orders? Kathy and I both had a question about whether you wanted to include a condition saying that the Should it reference the tree agreement for the Wentworth Farm development as it is different from your usual policy? That's really the question we had for you.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so it should reference that agreement.
It's different from the usual policy, but.
Right, but I
in-
could
in
not-
open session in a public meeting, we discussed what the difference was. And the difference was under the cluster zoning, they were deeding to us open space, and I don't know, we had, what, 4 acres of, I
Right,
don't know how much we got.
right,
But we had an open public discussion on that.
yes.
So, yeah, we should reference the fact that it's not, it doesn't undercut our 3-to-1 performance standard at all. Rather, it was done in exchange for the open land that was preserved pursuant to the agreement. I say agreement, but it's actually the zoning bylaw.
And my point,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll reiterate, is
Was that always the intent?
Yes.
Yes, as understood.
Okay.
I was not involved in those discussions because I think that was last year. But because the clustered zoning bylaw already allows the developer to put in a lot more houses than that he would be able to otherwise, he's already getting a concession for giving up open space. He gives us open space, but then in exchange, instead of putting 4 houses in here, he puts in 9 houses. That's how the cluster development balances. We get extra open space, he gets all these extra houses to sell. So to me, that's equal. So then, in addition, I don't see why we give him consideration or concession in terms of tree replacement.
Well, we just did the same thing that was not a clustered development, and we did it with Webb Collins when he came in for the, whatever it's called, the Milton something trust, what's the name of it?
Preservation or something.
Preservation, right. It's at 153 Hillside Street. We just did it with him. Said in exchange for, he gave us a conservation restriction, in perpetuity, because he wanted to do it for 20 years, and we said no in perpetuity. In exchange for getting that, it was like almost an acre,
Yes,
close to an acre.
Yes.
In exchange for that, we reduced the tree performance standard.
But, see, he didn't then get additional houses built. It wasn't like on that property we said, you give us land and now you get to build 2 houses instead of 1, the way you do with cluster development. So then it made sense. He gave us these open space, fine, conservation land. We gave him a consideration, fewer trees to plant on the existing property. But that's not the case in cluster development.
You may be correct.
I think
I'm not
we
sure I
now-
agree with you, but you may be correct, and I could,
So the
but
concession-
it doesn't change
Yes.
anything, because we made a deal.
Fine,
right.
I understand.
But what you're doing is proposing a future policy.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Which is great.
And the idea is to be consistent with whatever the
Exactly.
policy is. So if we
Yes.
want a new policy, then we should state it publicly.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like to try to write that? And maybe you should appoint
I can
a
do that.
small committee.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No,
That's the way things get done.
But I think, as John said, when, with Wentworth Farm, to make a point that that's why
Yes,
it's a different ratio than typical.
right. So we will include that in the orders, basically.
Right.
So that people know what's going on there. And then we can use that for the subsequent orders, because there will be, more on that same roadway. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
And I think you will be pleased with the end result on Wentworth Farms in terms of the number of trees that are planted.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And can we put on for next month as well, the tree bank, so we can continue this discussion as to what do we have?
Yes.
What's outstanding, get it caught up to date, so we know. I mean, do we have $500,000? Do we have 90? What do we have?
It's like 160 or 155 or something like that.
And to
In
see that
different accounts.
broken down and.
Right.
Okay.
And when I said, and I may have misspoken when I said that that's not the revolving fund. I actually think the 91,000 is the revolving fund, but it's not a tree bank fund. The revolving fund was created, and the language is correct, because it was a warrant, 4 or 5 years ago, before town meeting. So the language there, we actually, when we created the revolving fund, the language that is right there says.
Yes, it
it's
is.
Used for purchasing and installation of trees, shrubs, plants, cleaning of waterways, and removal of invasive species, and improving drainage. So it's kind of a catch-all environmental thing, but that's actually part of the bylaw.
But John, if it's in the revolving fund, how long?
We don't
We
have to
have.
spend it, we just can't.
And there is a limit, though, Kathy pointed out to me.
15,000.
Of $15,000
Per year.
Per fiscal year, I believe it is.
Yeah,
And does it have to be spent, or can
No,
it
no,
does
it's
not
been-
have to
No.
be spent? Okay.
No,
It's been sitting there for a long time.
no. So, in any case,
Right, but that's why it's important that we have other funds and other accounts, because if an opportunity to purchase open space and preserve the open space, it might be worth
We can
expending
combine.
those.
Okay.
Yeah, we could take 15 from the revolving and then utilize other funds.
Okay, put it on for next May
yes,
as well.
it's
Or-
there.
no, okay.
Sure.
I put it up on the board there, my items for additional business. So the next one is 131 Elliott, 0 Central. Our
Hendry's.
favorite, our favorite. As you probably noticed while going by, the contaminated soil's been removed. The frac tank that was up there on the hill has been removed. There's no water down on Central Ave. I spoke at length to the LSP as you requested last month, a gentleman named Chris Buchanan. He said the extent of the contamination of the soils is not yet known, basically. Specifically, they believe they have the gasoline out. Gasoline is not a problem. It's bunker oil.
Yeah, that was the problem back in the 90s.
It's been a
Well,
long time.
before that, I know
Right.
that, but that was the
So,
issue in the 96.
He said that the owner is considering an activity and use limitation on the property with monitoring wells, all approvable by DEP. Okay, monitoring wells, of course, on the north side between the soil and the river. And that's,
How would that affect the residential use?
well, you can.
Can't plant
you-
tomatoes.
Pardon?
You can't plant tomatoes.
Right, can't plant tomatoes, can't drink the water.
Can't plant mustard.
But you can probably put a impermeable membrane and then a concrete,
You have to have a sub-slab ventilation system.
exactly, a ventilation system and all.
That would be more expensive than
It
taking
depends
the
on-
contaminated soil.
Depends
That's
on the
why
extent.
nothing's been done there yet, because they're trying
Looking
to
at the money.
figure those numbers out. My guess, just my guess. Okay, so when you buy a pig in the poke, that's what you get, pig in the poke.
But they knew that back in 96, because they bought it for song.
Okay, well
And they
then,
bought all of the environmental liability as part of the purchase.
Which is now their,
Now they're bonded.
now they're
it
paying
may be a longer road than we expected.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Should we ask them for an update from the LSP of what the status is, what the,
Oh, I think so.
Well, I did just a couple weeks ago.
no, I mean in front of the commission.
Oh, nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree, but if they come in and just talk, it's not going to help us. We need the soil samples or the contamination. We've had a real hard time getting them to give
But we got
actual
that
data.
just recently.
Yes,
didn't
you did.
Yeah, but you know how late that was when you got it?
Well, I think
We
they
had asked
just.
for it a lot.
They
I
just
had asked.
created it. They just created it in March, actually. It was just approved by the owner in March to be sent to DEP. I think it was early March.
When they took the tanks out, there was sampling at the time.
Right, right.
But
And
it
then,
didn't take
no,
6 months to
It
figure
didn't
out.
take the, no, it took,
to put the
That's
report.
what I just said. We've had real hard time getting data, actual scientific data out of them.
Right,
yeah, so we're probably still waiting for a UST closure report,
yes, exactly.
and then whatever the current RAO status is.
Right.
Right.
Or release action, yeah, RAO.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, RAO, yeah.
And that's,
Onward.
that's the one that brings Brandon Fagan back here every year for the last 27 years.
Right, for Milton Academy.
Yeah.
Right.
I look forward to his appearances.
Exactly. Well, he speaks so fast, that's the problem.
I'm sure the Academy looks forward to it, too.
I know. I know.
Number 3, we are in receipt of the MBTA yearly operational plan for clearing brush and trees along the railway line. It's with the environmental monitor. So if you don't have it already, and if you wish a copy, I have it in digital format, should you wish to fall asleep over it.
No, I don't think
You've
we-
been through it, I'm sure.
I don't think we can. You know, they owe us money, and they just thumbed their nose at us. We have a
The T?
15,000, the T,
Oh, I did not know that.
$15,000 consent agreement that they just said, we're not paying, it's not in our budget, see you later. Yes, and the reason they owe us the 15,000, now in fairness, they owe it to both the Milton Conservation Commission and the Boston Conservation Commission, but the bulk of the land, probably 80% of the land that was affected was in Milton. What, 5 years ago? You remember it. The napalm, that's what we refer to it, the napalm. When, on Elliott Street,
Oh,
between
yes.
Central Avenue and Adams Street, they dropped napalm on, it killed everything. No, we just made up the name.
It was some sort of toxic chemical that just, everything was destroyed. It was yellow. Nothing was left
Nothing
on
was
the
left.
hillside.
There were no little ants, there were no flies.
That's how they
nothing.
cleared the brush. It was just,
It was horrible.
yeah.
So Boston went after them, we went after them. They said, oh, okay, we're sorry. And nothing grew there for, I don't know, 3 years or
anyway,
so.
yeah.
Something's come back, but it was horrible. And you looked at it and you went, who did this? Oh, the T. And it was this plan, their operational, maintenance plan.
Wow.
For clearing brush. Oh, they've got a history, and it's not that long ago. I'm not reaching back decades. And Andrew Brennan?
Yes.
Very nice guy, by
Yes,
the way. He
yeah.
just said, sorry, it's not in our budget. I don't have the money.
So should we write a comment letter?
Yeah.
On the yearly operation plan, noting that?
Well, let's see it, and let's make sure that you're not using the same chemical that you did.
Regardless.
Kathy can figure out what year it was. It was probably around 2012,
If they thumb their nose at
2013.
compliance, then,
Yeah.
Oh, they absolutely did.
Yeah.
then
I'd have a hard time finding it, but I've got that consent agreement. 15,000. That's
I haven't got a good
money.
comment letter in a while, so.
Would you like me to email you the
Sure.
YOP?
Sure.
Okay.
I like using the word egregious in a sentence.
It was egregious. Oh, it's like a nuclear.
Yeah, and you can pave.
It was horrible. Nothing survived. Right?
On the slope.
I'm not making it up.
I believe you.
Okay, what's the
Onward.
last one down there? Okay.
The next one is a release notification form and a permanent solution statement for a spill
So the yearly operation plan.
in the pull-off area just south of exit 11. A truck hit a piece of road debris, went through the diesel tank completely emptied.
I was satisfied with the response plan, though. It seemed to have done it effectively. It didn't get into the wetlands. I think there's a
Right.
bit of a berm there.
Yes, that's
So I think
correct.
everything was contained. and it
Right.
Yeah.
looked
Good.
like-
Stumbling block.
So we have that as well,
Okay.
should you wish to look at it. And then the last thing I have on my list is just the baseline report that you asked me to start with the Milton Woods. I've been out there on the north side, and I was successful in finding enough egg masses to certify
Oh, wonderful.
pooling area on the north side.
Wonderful. Oh,
The
good.
south side, I think I was there too early because the pool was over my 17-inch boots. So I'm going back probably
fine.
later this week, or early next week with the hip waders on.
Terrific.
But,
So that's baseline report for the vernal pools.
Yeah. No, for
no.
Milton Woods in
for
general.
Milton Woods, this was part of the
Thought it was,
baseline
I
report.
thought it was their obligation to produce the baseline report.
No, it's ours.
It's ours.
It's our obligation.
Yeah.
It's the Conservation Commission's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not part of it.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I don't know what you're talking
This,
about.
Yes.
this tells us what the property looks like and needs to
Exactly.
look like 10 years
Right.
from now, 20 years from now.
Yes, but I thought that.
And we
I
give it to
thought that
them.
the applicant was responsible for.
Not for this, not for this, yep. Also, The south side, that area, the pooling, you've got a pooling area there, it comes down from Countryside Way, of
Yes,
course, you know,
yeah.
you remember the drainage from there,
Mhm.
goes down into a little tiny tumble of rocks, down gradient. There's a
Right.
pooling area, which is deep and really difficult to move through. I used a saw to get through it. It was that bad.
Wow.
Things are all over each other. But when you come out to the outlet of that area, basically what it does is tumbles over rocks and cobbles and a bouldery area, and then goes down again into this little pooling area just before you hit Unquity Road, is what happens there. So I'm not sure right now whether that's certifiable by the natural heritage folks as a vernal pool or not, because it's a part of a flowing stream.
Huh.
It's a pooling area and a flowing stream. So oftentimes, they will not certify those areas, just for your information.
Oh,
But we can certainly note what was there.
Because there's a possibility.
I can hear wood frogs, I saw wood frogs.
Okay.
I was a little early. It was cold out at the point when I was there, a week and a half or so ago,
Okay.
just to let you know.
Good, no, that's great.
Because if you keep going down Unquity, onto Harlan Street,
Yes.
that's really, you'll hear the spring peepers.
Oh,
That's
yes.
where you hear them.
Yes, I heard some there as well, by the way.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yes.
good.
A little bit of spring peepers there as well.
Oh, excellent.
And in fact, across Unquity, there were a lot of spring peepers in that wetland back there, right across Unquity.
Still.
From Woodlot Road, which is the
Right.
new Milton Woods.
That's what it's being called.
Woodlot Road, or Woodlot Lane, or whatever,
Yeah.
circle.
I've seen the advertisements in the Globe.
Have you?
Yeah, 1,000,004.
Oh. Great, pick up two.
Yeah.
Any case, that's it for me, or at least for my notes.
That's good.
You're good to go. Thank you for doing all that
Motion
work,
to adjourn.
Steve.
Certainly.
Thanks, Steve.
All in favor? We're done.
Okay.